Hello everyone. Welcome to GW Prime Live. Your way is here. I am Nivedita Mohanta, the host for today's evening, and today we have with us the President of Polish Space Agency, Professor Gregor Rockna. Welcome to GW Prime.
Welcome, everyone.
Today's topic is we are going to discuss on Polish Space Agency's space exploration plans. Space explorations that began out of curiosity has become a necessity today. The dependence on space-based assets have only increased in the past couple of years, from monitoring, mapping, gathering intelligence to providing early warning systems, communication, financial transactions, and other vital data on the nation's safety and security. The role of a space agency is to implement and manage space programs as well as promote science and technology research in space, which are done by sending satellites into the Earth's orbit, extracting data from the satellites, and develop policies and future explorations, etc. Established in 2014, Polish Space Agency's primary task is to support the Polish space industry by bridging the worlds of business and science. How is Poland building its Earth observation capabilities, and what kind of impact are you planning to make in the European Earth observation market through this?
Thank you for this question. First of all, as you said, Earth observation data from satellites are now used in many activities. It's important for economy of the country and for our everyday life. Today, even modern agriculture cannot be effective anymore without using satellite data. Other activities like forestry, like urban planning, and of course, when we have some kind of crisis, whether it's a natural disaster or man-made crisis, then satellite images can help us, first of all, to predict some crises, to prevent them, but then to operate, to save lives, to save our infrastructure. Therefore, Earth observation satellite I needed for any modern country, for any contemporary society. Of course, one could use international satellites like Copernicus constellation owned by European Commission, and in fact we use it quite heavily in many applications. But especially in crisis situation, I mean, every country needs to have its own capabilities, and therefore Poland plans to have own fleets of satellite. And in the long run, this fleet should contain, of course, some very high resolution satellites to observe, I mean, concrete items, some satellites with a resolution of the order of 1 meter, maybe with a capability to measure um, objects to make orthophoto maps with high precision. Those are needed for urban planning, for measuring, for observing changes. But we need also a large number of satellites with somewhat lower resolution to be able to detect cases like fire or flood, to observe the surface of the earth very frequently, at least once a day. Now our industry is not yet capable of building satellites with very high resolution, and those we are going to buy. But the other ones, well, which are called nano satellites and micro satellites, they are within the range of our industry. In fact, Poland already sent to space 16 satellites, but so far there were only small satellites for scientific purposes, for technology development. In a few weeks, we hope to launch our first of Earth observation prototype satellite. But this is again not the beginning of the constellation. This would be rather a proof of technology. But now we have recently, our Ministry of Economical Development and Technology signed agreement with European Space Agency to assist Polish companies to build our own Earth observation satellites. Those will be optical as well as radar, because radar is can see through the clouds and also during the night. So the optical constellation needs to be completed by a satellite with a radar. So the plan is that the companies, thanks to this project, will gain competences, so they will be able to produce satellites for our own country, but also later they can export the satellites. But what is important is that many countries in Europe, especially in our region, I mean, they are going to build their own satellites, but having just a few satellites, it is difficult to cover all the needs of the countries. So European Space Agency is working on the concept of so-called hybrid constellation, which could be heterogenical. There will be satellites from different countries made with different technologies, but having the same, following the same standards, having the same interfaces, so they could work together as a one big virtual constellation. And this, I believe that this is the future of Earth observation satellites constellation, at least in our region of Europe.
Seems like Poland is rapidly expanding its Earth observation capabilities. Also, recently I came across this news that you are also planning to launch four satellites for civil use by 2027 and two satellites for defense and security in 2028. So, how is the work progress? How is the development going on these projects?
Indeed, the very high resolution satellites we are going to buy, but the one which we want to build ourselves under the supervision with the help of European Space Agency, the agreement had been signed several months ago, and just in a few days we expect that ESA will launch a tender for and the consortia will need to prove that 70% of the technology is coming from Poland. So I believe that this is really a major step towards having our own capabilities, because nowadays, I mean, satellites on orbit are infrastructure needed for the country as much as highways or fibers for internet or airports. We just need that for our life.
And also, with Ukraine and Russia conflict in the view, what is Polish Space Agency's plan for the launch of defense satellites? And if you are launching it by 2028, I think won't it be too late for that?
Well, very often we make this mistake that we say, it will be too late, and we do nothing. And then after 10 years, we reflect, if we made it 5 years earlier, we thought it was too late, but today we would be happy to have it, right? And this concerns many decisions especially on the critical infrastructure for the country. But if you want to know details, I mean, Minister of Defense is a right body to ask, because we have a clear sharing of responsibilities. Whatever concerns defense is a Minister of Defense and Army, and whatever concerns civil applications, this is Polsa, this is our agency. But of course, many things are dual use, many technologies are dual use. Therefore, we have an agreement with Ministry of Defense that if there is a satellite or a telescope observing satellites on orbit, whoever is the owner, Ministry of Defense can use the data for defense purposes, and we can use the data for civil purposes, and it works quite well.
So you're also developing Camilla. How is it different from other Earth observation constellations?
Well, the main difference for us will be that it will be our own constellation and built by our own industry. So we will have a full control on it. But technology is progressing so fast that I'm sure there will be some novel technological systems on the board of the satellites, but it's too early to say technical details. We have to await for the European Space Agency tender. We will see who will be the winner of the tender, and what kind of concrete solution they will propose.
Okay, now I would like you to please shed some light on Polsa's new projects with NASA JPL. And if you could tell me about the analytics report that the Polsa completed in 2023, and what are the potential technology areas of interest for Poland?
Right. Of course, our main area of cooperation is European Space Agency, but we also work with other agencies like NASA. And NASA is especially important because of the plans of moon exploration. Many countries plan to go to the moon, to land to the moon, to study. Moon is very interesting in itself. I mean, in the past we thought, it's just a boring piece of rock with some dust on the surface. Nowadays, more we know about the moon, I mean, more interesting it seems to be. There are more and more questions we are not able to answer today. Therefore, uh, I think something like 50 missions are planned for the next decade towards the moon by many different countries. So we would like to participate in that. Therefore, we have signed more than 2 years ago Artemis Accords agreement, and we work with NASA, we work with JPL on our possible contributions. Uh, what the long-term plans of big countries, this important space agencies, is not just to go to the moon, but to stay there for a longer time and to make some study. So the plan is to build some bases when people can stay for a long period of time. Likewise, in Arctic areas, for example, on the Earth, just not to live there, but to make the research there. But those kind of bases, they will need supply. They will need material to build the equipment. They will need oxygen to breathe. They will need water to survive. So our plan is to first send a small satellite of the moon, looking through the infrared radiation for minerals which could be used to extract water, to extract hydrogen, to extract oxygen. This is, on one hand, this is quite realistic. On the other hand, we believe it is quite important. So then the next plan would be to send maybe a small rover, very small one, 10 to 20 kilograms. But our space industry already have some experience. We have sent apparatus on more than 80 NASA and ESA missions. That our hammer was hammering a comet. On Rosetta mission, our drill was drilling Mars ground. So we have good engineers, good companies and institutes developing, robotics, developing different kind of measuring devices. So our cooperation with NASA and especially with JPL is just using these capabilities to participate in the research, in the exploration of Moon and Mars, because Mars is, of course, the next target after Moon. And then, with recent successes of the little helicopter there, we see that this is the future. The rovers, they cannot go long distances, they cannot go to deep valleys. I mean, on the Mars, you can have some a few kilometers deep valley when we can maybe still have some water or frozen water and some signs of life. But with the rover, we cannot really go there. Whereas the helicopters, they can go, and therefore we work with NASA on this kind of devices. And this is because we have a very large and good aviation industry in Poland. And for example, the University of Technology in the city of Rzeszów, when there is a concentration of those companies, they have very good experience in designing different kind of flying objects, including helicopters. So I think we can contribute this way to the most ambitious plans of the agencies like NASA and others.
Right. So also recently, Polsa signed an MOU with the Rwanda Space Agency to advance partnership opportunities in space tech. Uh, are you planning to collaborate with other nations like India or any other nation for any future space mission?
Yes, of course. I mean, research in space it's truly international. Just 2 months ago, I was participating in European Space Agency Council, and the head of the Indian Space Agency was invited to present the Indian program, and we were all very impressed by both the successes and ambitious plans of India. I'm sure there will be cooperation with between the European Space Agency and India. Just yesterday, during ESA Council, we discussed a possible mission to an asteroid, which in the year 2028 will be close to the Earth. And again, Indian Space Agency and ESA will collaborate on this issue. But we also have bilateral collaboration, especially concerning astronauts flying to International Space Station. We have a candidate to fly to ISS. So we have agreement with European Space Agency. So he's now training in ESA. And we are awaiting for the fourth astronauts, because the crew will consist of four astronauts. Now we have completed three. We are waiting for four, and there's a very good chance that the fourth one will be from India. Therefore, we have already contacted our partners from India, and we are discussing how we can use this opportunity to share, I mean, our plans concerning communication, concerning education, concerning scientific research we are going to make during this mission. It's an excellent opportunity. I am looking forward for that. Well, talking about artificial intelligence in media sounds like people consider it as a kind of magic. It's not a magic, it's just technology, and it's a smooth progress from more and more complicated algorithm to those non-algorithmic ideas of machine learning. Even the term artificial intelligence is somewhat misleading. It's not about intelligence. The proper scientific term, technical term, is machine learning, so-called deep learning, right? So the algorithm, it is not the algorithm that everything is prescribed by the programmers. It is a program which could acquire data and then modify its own action with this knowledge. And of course, we observe that using this technology in many applications can speed up and improve performance of any activities. Of course, it is also a great potential for space technologies. I see two areas, and we already have Polish companies making some technological development with that. One is the analysis of images, and one of our companies launched a satellite making hyperspectral images of the Earth. So every area is photographed 150 times with different color, different wavelengths. So then the amount of data is so huge that it's impossible to send it to the Earth. So they should be analyzed on board, and the company developed both hardware and software that artificial intelligence can be applied already on board of the satellites. So analyzed data by the artificial intelligence can be sent down to Earth. Another application is concerns apparatus on remote missions like on the moon or on Mars. The delay of the signal to Mars is a few minutes, depending on the distance, on the position on the orbit. But even to the moon and back, it's almost 2 seconds. So remote control is not really an option, because before we react, our rover could already crash. So the rovers or the helicopters, they should be equipped with some possibility of autonomous operation. And again, artificial intelligence is a great improvement with this respect. And again, one of our companies developed this kind of processor, and there are plans to send it to the moon, to operate the moon rover. I believe that those two areas are when the artificial intelligence will make a biggest progress in the future.
So, does the Polish Space Agency have a space situational awareness program? And what are Polsa's views and plans for space traffic management?
Oh yes, we have the plan, and we have realized this plan to a large extent. I mean, POSA has built telescope systems to observe satellite, and we have those systems distributed on 5 different continents, so we cover almost the whole orbit. But also, we use the data from about 20 telescopes owned by scientific institutions or by private companies. We also have one laser able to measure the distance to the satellite. So we cooperate with other European countries in the partnership called EU SST, and Poland provides the largest amount of data to this consortium so far. We also signed agreement with U.S. Space Command on exchanging the data from those telescopes. But then we would like to go even further. We work with ESA on possible missions to observe satellites from the orbit. So a satellite would be equipped with special telescopes to do that. We also developing novel technologies to observe satellites on very low orbit. Uh, so in concerning satellite survey and tracking, we really are one of the leaders in Europe. But the space situational awareness also concern planetary defense, and I already mentioned plans to study the asteroid, which will be close to the Earth in 2028. Of course, Poland is planning to participate in that, but also space weather. I mean, observing activities of the sun, it is really crucial for our security safety on the Earth. And we now discuss with ESA on possible missions with a number of very small satellites uh, to study the behavior of the sun to monitor space weather. So the plans are ambitious, and already we are important player concerning situational awareness program concerning space traffic management. Well, there is work going on both in European Union and in US on developing the space traffic management. So we are not going to develop our own. Perhaps we would rather cooperate within European Union and with United States to be compatible with. But having those assets I have mentioned, I believe that we will contribute significantly to practical introducing of space traffic management. We really count on that.
What kind of support are you providing to the private space players in Poland?
Well, this is in fact one of our major roles because we are living in the era of new space or space for zero. When first, I mean, there is money flow from private investors, not so much in Europe yet. We see it in US, but in Europe also we begin then. There is a number of companies, small companies, startup, and with this respect, Poland is quite unique because we do not have big champions, big companies, big concerns in the space sector. We have over 400 companies, but they are rather small companies, medium-sized companies. So the role of our agency is to integrate them, and also to create an environment, because we need to recognize what are the needs of the government, what are the needs of the country, what are the needs of the society, and then, looking at recent scientific and technical achievement, we should encourage companies to fulfill those needs with our own technology. So sometimes we need to help to create a bigger consortium to gain a critical mass to be able to run in a big projects. And of course, our role is also to work with European Space Agency, so our companies can actively participate in European Space Agency program. This is especially important now because we have just increased our contribution to ESA almost by factor of 5. So for the years 2023, 24, 25, our total contribution, including bilateral agreement with ESA, is almost 500 million euros. So for our country, it is quite big. This position us in Europe somewhere at the sixth, seventh position, somewhere between Belgium and Switzerland. The country is known from investing in high technology, so we are quite proud of that. And we see that this is the great opportunity for our industry to develop their technologies through the ESA program, so then can indeed fulfill our national needs, and then they can grow, making profit on export.
Well, thank you so much for your time, Professor Rockna. I'm sure the audience had an amazing time listening to your insightful words and knowing more about the Polish Space Agency. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hello and welcome to the GW Bulletin, the daily dose of geospatial news on GW Prime Live. I am Jeffy Jacob, and here are the latest happenings. The Indian Space Research Organization has achieved a third consecutive success in the reusable launch vehicle landing experiment by demonstrating the autonomous landing capability of the launch vehicle under more challenging conditions. This mission simulated the approach and landing interface and high-speed landing conditions for a vehicle returning from space. The winged vehicle named Pushpak was released from an Indian Air Force Chinook helicopter at an altitude of 4.5 km. ISRO said that Pushpak executed a precise horizontal landing, showcasing advanced autonomous capabilities under challenging conditions. With the objectives of RLV LAX accomplished, ISRO embarks into RLV ORV, the orbital reusable vehicle. FOSA Systems, an IoT and space technology startup, announced it has raised a £6.3 million Series A round to grow its IoT satellite constellation focused on remote asset management for industrial use cases. The funding was co-led by Indico Capital Partners and Nabtesco Technology Ventures. This capital raise will help FOSA grow its IoT satellite constellation focused on remote asset management for industrial use cases and will support the creation of its 80 satellite direct to device communication network for customers to securely track and monitor their remote assets. USX Space is set to begin operating flights to the stratosphere from Spain and Abu Dhabi in 2025. Kemal Karbachi, the company's founder and CEO, says the team is finalizing the development of the spaceship capsules alongside the necessary validation tests, which are planned together with military pilots and in collaboration with the National Institute for Aerospace Technology. The goal of the dubbed first European space exploration company is to operate flights from its headquarters in Seville, Spain, as well as in Abu Dhabi around the third quarter of 2025. The board of directors of the African Development Fund has approved an additional $10 million from the Global Agriculture and Food Security Program to implement activities and scale up the impact of the smallholder agriculture development for food and nutrition security project in Liberia. The project aims to improve food and nutrition security and reduce poverty of targeted rural populations in Liberia by increasing agriculture production and productivity of smallholder farmers, and with a focus on food crops such as rice, cassava, and vegetables. This will improve the smallholders' value addition, market access, and income and strengthen the capacity of government institutions, farmers, and producer organizations. A French-Chinese satellite was launched on a hunt for the mightiest explosions in the universe, a notable example of the cooperation between a Western power and an Asian giant. Developed by engineers from both countries, the Space Variable Objects Monitor, or SVOM, will seek out gamma ray bursts, the light from which has traveled billions of light years to reach Earth. The 930 kg satellite was carrying 4 instruments, 2 from the French and 2 Chinese. The National Highways Authority of India has signed a memorandum of understanding with the Indraprastha Institute of Information Technology, Delhi, a technical university established by the government of National Capital Territory. This collaboration aims to leverage AI to improve the availability and condition of road signs on national highways covering approximately 25,000 kilometers. The collected data will be processed using AI for accurate identification and classification of road signs. This process will result in a geo-stamped inventory of existing road signs, including their categorization and structural condition. MapMyIndia founders Rakesh Verma and Rashmi Verma launched Clarity X, a company dedicated to providing enterprise clients with cutting-edge and bespoke customer-centric AI-driven data, analytics, and consulting. Clarity X capabilities will help expand MapMyIndia's enterprise offerings and addressable market. Clarity X empowers enterprises with AI-driven insights from multi-dimensional static and real-time data, enabling immediate strategic decision-making and driving digital transformation. Jonet Technologies, an Indian drone manufacturer, has announced the successful delivery of its Jonet JF2 ISR drones to the Indian Army, marking a significant milestone in strengthening India's border surveillance capabilities. The Jonet JF2, India's first stealth fixed-wing drone, is designed specifically for surveillance and reconnaissance operations. This hand-launched UAV is equipped with high-definition day cameras and thermal imaging night cameras, enabling it to excel in both day and night operations. The deployment of the JF2 for border surveillance represents the first use of a fixed-wing UAV of its class by the Indian Army. ANSYS announced the availability of a new SAS Cloud native offering, ANSYS Concept EV. The solution enables component and system engines to work together on EV powertrain concept designs through a model-based approach, facilitating early design decisions for improved EV driving range and battery charge times, and lower development costs and also faster time to market. Concept EV is a first of its kind accessible solution capable of linking component designs to system level requirements. Specification and component design changes are easily implemented and traceable, empowering users to rapidly evaluate and quantify system trade-offs for the optimal powertrain design. The model-based approach facilitates rapid analysis of the complete system against requirements, reducing errors, saving time and costs, and informing smarter decisions earlier in the development process. And with that, we come to the end of this live bulletin. See you tomorrow with more news from the geospatial ecosystem around the world.